So 47% of Americans are now identify as independents. It's a pretty strong trend that we're seeing of the two major parties not necessarily emptying out, but shrinking somewhat and giving way to independents.
Yep.
And more of those independents in that group call themselves Democrats as opposed to Republicans. And usually that comes down to they're asked a second question if you were forced to choose between these two
had
parties.
to vote between one of the two. Right.
So it tells us that we have a growing sort of middle of the road political group that is more likely to identify with Democrats, which means chances are better that they will end up voting for Democrats in November. Now, this is not to say like that's Bible, but I want to take a look at this too. This is from the Washington Post. They found among, I think, 10,000 adults that Americans are divided into these 9 political groups.
Yeah.
And for people watching, these are elastic. So if you were to ask this question last year or the year before, or next year, they would change by a few points here and there, maybe marginally, maybe a lot more. But we'll go through some of these in a minute. But the big groups here you can see are the order and opportunity left, which is sort of I would say is sort of the middle of where we are. We've got faith first conservatives, the unconventional right. Those are sort of like, evangelicals, and then you have young men on the other side.
No apologies. That's what I call the Twitter right.
Right. Yeah. That's sort of that. I think most of MAGA would probably fall in the no apologies. Right.
Yeah.
The pragmatic and polite right is the part of the party that has been
Lincoln Project targets.
Yeah. That's the sort of older, more traditional Republican party that, you were used to from 1980 up until 2016. It's a shrinking group. And then you can see the loyal liberals are about the same size, and leftward progressives are the smallest group on this list. Smallest and I would say very loud.
And you know what, Andrew? I think that really says something that the leftward progressives, that's the Bernie AOC wing, and the no apologies right is the hardcore MAGA wing. Somebody asked about what the unconventionals are. Would you say that's like the Tucker space of the party, the younger men?
Yeah, Tucker, RFK. I think that
Joe Rogan.
Right. Yeah. Sort of the non-faith based right. The sort of not like they're not ideological like William F. Buckley type right wingers. They're really more new and born out of that Joe Rogan media ecosystem in some respects.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think this kind of typology is helpful. Well, I was just going to say that on the next slide, it shows you, like, you guys can see a lot of the sort of public landscape in how these people break out. And you can see there are big divergences.
There are big divergences, and you can see where the wedge issues are. So look at that third one. They were asked if abortion should be legal in all or most cases. Large parts of the right, the pragmatic and polite right, the unconventional right, and the U.S. overall are saying that more than 50% are saying that abortion should be legal in all or most cases. And then you have the rest of them, no apologies, and the faith first conservatives who are much more strongly opposed. So that becomes a wedge issue. And that was a major wedge issue in 22, if you'll remember. That was one of the issue overrides that sort of staunched the red wave that was happening. So it became a wedge issue, and it was useful for Democrats. And you can see some of these other ones too.
I'm fascinated by the U.S. overall number on the last tab there about the federal government's responsibility to provide health insurance.
Yeah,
that's kind of a big number. I haven't seen that number in the overall in a very long time. And the
low 60s.
The irony here is the MAGAs in that no apologies right and in the faith first conservatives, statistically, folks, they are more likely to use Medicare, Medicaid, disability, Social Security than you would think from their pull yourself up by your bootstraps rhetoric.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things that that sort of for MAGAs, you know, they when you phrase a question like this, the federal government has a responsibility. I think that is maybe what sets them off. You know, they feel like when you say something like that, it's giving away your tax money and, you know, taxing you more.
Yeah,
that's their belief. I think what's really interesting and sort of scary is that second to last one, to say the legacy of slavery continues to affect the position of Black people. A lot of Republicans are saying no. Most of the country is saying yes. That's sort of
that has become a real indicator of the no apologies right and the unconventional right. There's a Tucker overlay in that, and there's a lot of those people are buying the whole like white replacement theory and you know, the immigration stuff ties into that, because race is a thing. It's our original sin.
These are the key divides on the left. I want to look at crime, which is the second one there. Say crime is a very big problem. You have most of these, the order and opportunity left and the left out left. They're sort of in that 50%-ish range who say crime is a serious problem. I think it's difficult that, you know, it's sort of gone, not necessarily gone unacknowledged by the far left and progressives, but that is a wedge issue that Republicans use just the same way that Democrats used abortion in 2022. And you can see, I don't know necessarily because we don't have the exact figures here, but it looks to me like the left has some slightly larger ideological divides on these key issues.
Yeah, I mean, just facially, it looks like that.
Yeah. And you know, these are the things that become wedge issues. So this is what's important to look at. So if you look here, the second one to the bottom, you know, this is sort of telling you about that socialist-capitalist divide that you sort of have in the Democratic Party that's sort of breaking out in our primary elections. So roughly, I would say 20-ish% of those leftward progressives say they have a great deal or a fair amount of control over how successful they are. And then you look to the farther to the right, and you know, you have more of those loyal liberals and you know,
it's funny because that cluster around, which is in the, let's call it the 60s, mid to high 60s there, comprises probably 3/4 of the Democratic cohort.
Yeah.
2/3, let's call it. Of the Democratic cohort. Interesting.
And that's why, you know, the socialist label can help you in you know, really progressive urban areas, but can be used as a cudgel in somewhere like Wisconsin, for example.
Where we have swing seats, everybody.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of swing seats.